The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, aka the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. I'm Jasmine, I'm your host. If you're just tuning in, welcome. If you tune in and watch us every week, we love you. Welcome back. We have an awesome show lined up today.
I'm excited.
I know, I'm so excited.
I'm excited based on the little bit before this. Like, this is going to be awesome.
We're going to talk about hair a lot.
Yeah, it's going to get wild, so be prepared. So our guest this week is Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
What's up?
So I know Nikki, what was that, like 3 years ago? I was really struggling, and my spiritual advisor kept telling me, you need to connect with this woman, you need to connect with this woman. I remember the first time I came over, you were like, you had me like stretch my hip flexors or something.
Oh my God, it's something to make everyone do, even yeah, crow pose.
Yeah.
So,
Crow pose. It releases it for women very specifically.
Yeah.
Women keep a lot of their emotions in their ovulation area. So if you do a hip flexor, it releases a lot of those issues in your tissues.
Yeah. And
okay.
You can get very emotional after though, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't appreciate that kind of stuff back then, but I do now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And then we kind of got disconnected there for a couple years, but we're like.
But I've always appreciated your energy.
Oh.
You have very consistent energy.
Yeah.
It's very kind and pure, and you just love people a lot, and that's not something that has wavered any time in your addiction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just who you are.
Do you know what's really funny? So I live a keto lifestyle, and I get really forgetful sometimes, and like people tell me that can be a side effect from keto. I don't really know if that's true or not. And so I was like at a family dinner, like a sponsorship family dinner with one of my sponsees, and she was like, yeah, she tells me like the same thing every day, but every time she tells me, she has the same level of excitement.
So that's pretty accurate, because like the fact that you just told me that I had you do that exercise, I have like all my clients do it, and I think it's like a brand new thing. I'm like, no one's gonna remember this. And like my level is like the same all the time. Like I'm very excited and authentic, and so I think it's just your energy.
Yeah.
It's literally just who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't wavered. So that's exciting for you.
Yes.
That you know that. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. So I'm a woman in long-term recovery from drugs and alcohol. I have been sober for over 3 years. I went through kind of what I would consider a really good process of recovery, where I did like a 30-day program, a 60-day program of transitional living, and then 11 months of sober living, which was done through Rise Above. And it was the only Manchester house that Rise Above ever had. And then from there, I got a job with Aware Recovery Care. So I didn't want to live in sober living and work in recovery, so I had moved out. But stayed connected to who I think you would call your spiritual advisor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I did in-home addiction treatment, and it was very challenging, but a really good concept, but it just wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. So I was asked to become the director of Revive Recovery through your spiritual advisor, who is also a good friend of mine, and in her own way, a spiritual advisor to me too.
Yeah.
So from there, I was the second director, and I got hired back in May of last last year. And I was given like a laptop in a small office, and I had no experience, nothing to really guide me other than God, of my understanding. And they're like, all right, go. And I had total freedom, which is really good because I like to be creative in my own way. So they're like, okay, do whatever you want in, the confines of your budget. And so now today we have Revive Recovery, which is on 263 Main Street.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I know we're familiar with it, but maybe a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, so the way the whole thing came about was the state got about $1 million to create 10 recovery centers, and recovery centers in New Hampshire are kind of a new concept, and the first one was Hope for New Hampshire, and that kind of like created the precedent of recovery centers. And recovery centers are based on peer recovery support, so it's one person in recovery working with another person in recovery, and you don't necessarily have to be in recovery to be a recovery coach, but most people are. But it's more like there's a lot of boundaries, and not boundaries, but like barriers, such as like the work suit and a desk and a PhD that are taken away. And it's like, well, I've gone through recovery and here's my experience, and let's work together, and I'll walk the path with you based on my life experience. And that's pretty much what recovery centers are. So the state has done a really, really great job with that grant, and they've created actually at this point I think we're at 13 recovery centers when we were told to do 10. And there's a lot of money coming into the state, and we're trying to like allocate it to be most productive for people in recovery. And that's like a whole other subject. That's like a whole other episode.
Okay, fair enough.
So
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, we can do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll do it.
Oh, we'll do it.
Let's dig into the state. Let's do it.
Oh, we will do it. We did it a little bit on Sunday
We did.
when the radio station didn't work.
Yeah. We went off. It was
did.
great.
And it was, and we're going to do it again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep,
It
pretty
was
much.
great.
But so it's it's a lot of peer recovery support. If people come in and need resources, we work on that. We have interns. I'm about to hire 2 more people. So
I think that's so amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I started with a laptop, and now we're almost at like 7 employees in a little over a year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the idea of recovery centers because I really believe that addiction is a societal disease, and we need to take a look at like what the cause is, and we need to stop treating all these symptoms, and so recovery centers are the idea of connection, community, and I really think that's where we're going to find. It's going to take a very, very, very long time for society to get well, but we can start.
And it's funny, so yesterday I had a guy who's running for Congress, Steve Negros. I hadn't heard of him until he ran for Congress, and he was amazing. He came into the center totally open-minded. We do not share political views, but I have so much appreciation for him. And I cannot vote in his district, but I would advise a lot of people to actually look into him. He just really, really cool guy. And without my addiction, I would have never had a conversation with him.
Yeah.
It became this thing where he reached out because he cared, and then my addiction brought that conversation on. So it was really cool. So, but we had this roundtable discussion. That was one of the questions, is like, this societal, what is the solution, or where does addiction come from, blah, blah, blah. And my answer was, it's society driven, and it's, quick fixes and all this stuff. And then this other woman said something, and it totally blew my mind. She goes, there's not, just like there is not one pathway to recovery that fits one person, there's not one answer to why there is addiction. And I was like, oh my God. And that's it. That's so true. And it's not even like, we have an epidemic in New Hampshire. And part of the reason I think we have an epidemic in New Hampshire is because we don't have really good access to healthcare and mental health and housing, and that's a state issue. And then, you know, throughout the country, there's an epidemic, but this is not the first time within the world that there's been like an epidemic. And for some cultures, like vodka is the remedy, or, you know, I'm Irish, so I could blame being an alcoholic on being Irish, right? Like, so this isn't like a new thing.
Yeah, some people are big pharma, like some people got addicted through, some people were misguided through medicine,
Well, we've been addicted since we could crush
Yeah.
grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the substance isn't going to go anywhere.
And that's
No.
what someone else had said yesterday.
not
It's like, well, you know, so we're treating opioids, but now if you work in the field, you can see that the next thing we're going to have to treat is meth,
Yeah.
which meth does not treat. So we're bringing $44 million in here, and that's not going to cover the next epidemic.
And I'm not against Matt, but like, so that's great. Let's, you know, especially because I work in a different state, and so what that state does is a lot of MAT treatment.
Yeah.
And like, that's okay, but what are we doing? Because the MAT's treating the symptom, it's not treating the underlying cause, so that person is still in some degree is internally suffering.
Well, it's just always Band-Aids.
Yeah.
No.
Very
It's-
expensive Band-Aids.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's expensive, but it's not for them when they see it in their scope.
Well, no, because they're making money off of it.
Yeah. And insurance companies are like, all right, here you go.
And it brings me into a whole conspiracy theory that we can't get into, that it's going to keep the poor people poor. But that's a whole other
are we
conspiracy
really doing that?
theory.
Well, on my way here, I was listening to videos on Erica Badu and being a witch and conspiracy theories. So I get it, but we'll keep it to drug addiction.
Yeah. Let's stay on the path a little bit. All right. So, question.
keep us
So,
trapped.
what do you see? Because I love the idea of Revive and the fact of having a safe place to go to be able to reach out. Because I know when I got sober the first time, I had no idea. Right?
Right.
Like it was like a Monday morning, and like everything has gone to hell, and I'm just like, I need to go to rehab, and nobody knew what to do, and I ended up in a psych ward.
Me too. Psych wards.
Yeah. Good old St. V's,
And
my
it helped
alma mater.
twice in 2 weeks. And it-
Nice.
Now look at you.
Nice. I lied my way out in 18 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got a lot of Xanax out of it.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went down to Florida for rehab.
Oh, so it got even worse. That's what I'm hearing.
No, and then I ended up here.
You had to go through what you had to get
Yeah.
to get here.
No, I don't regret anything,
Yeah.
honestly, because like I'm here today. I'm wearing a button down that I didn't steal.
No, that's huge. Honestly,
Right?
that's huge.
It
No,
really
that's what I'm
is.
saying. It's like these little things that I have
had a
in life.
moment with Bobby earlier, because so when Bobby first got sober, I remember you. Your hair was a shaggy mess.
Yeah.
You couldn't
And
pull
that's
it.
not today.
You. Oh my God. I
I
didn't
take
even
pride in
know.
this.
Yeah. How long does it take to do that
An hour
hair?
and a half.
No,
An hour.
to get a haircut.
To get 2 hours to get a haircut.
It takes them 2 hours to cut my hair.
How
Hour
long,
and a half to 2 hours.
how long does it take to perfectly gel it?
5 minutes. I have it
It's-
down to a science.
You must
Oh.
have some good gel. It stays all day.
American Girl pomade.
Oh, I use a gel, or it's like a wax, and it has Elvis on the cover. I think it's called like American Crew.
It is.
It's a man's product.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I
Yep,
use in my
it's the
hair.
move. It's the move.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
I respect it.
thank you.
Yep.
We got way out. What were we talking about?
About how when I came in here, I was in shambles. I
Yeah.
looked. I was like, what?
And
$1.50? $1.60?
I don't even know. And like the stuff that you would say was so unstable.
Oh yeah.
And so I was outside waiting for him before the show, and he came like walking across the parking lot, like looking all dapper, and his peacoat and his hair slicked back. And I just had a moment where I was so profound
Yeah.
Oh, those
by
are good
how
moments.
much I've seen him grow.
Same with you though. When I met you, what, over 2 years ago?
Yeah, I was a mess.
Yeah, but look at you today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You guys are in front of cameras.
Yeah.
You have your own show. This is wild.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. This is not the camera I expected to be in front of.
True. Yeah.
So, like,
Impressive.
how do you?
Sorry.
So, like, in my job as, you know, a director of a recovery center, like, my goal is to, like, you know, the only thing I can do, and I learned this from managing a sober living house, is create a safe space, right? Like, I can't save anyone,
Yep.
right? And it
Yeah.
took me a really long time to learn that. But anyone who works in the field, like, whatever someone's purpose is in life, as someone who works in the field, you want to get them there.
Yep.
So you guys are sitting here. And so this is, not necessarily whatever, this is not necessarily what I want my clients to be if they don't want to, but if they want to be sitting here today, like it's so profound and it's so inspiring. And what do you say to someone who could be watching this and they're like, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to get out of the trenches.
No.
I'm never going to feel good about myself. I'm a bag of shit, and I am not destined for anything good because my life has proven that. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say I've felt that way. I've been where you're at. Like, I've been to the bottom of that feeling, right? And like, even when I took that first step into recovery, right? Because I wasn't one of those, like, I'm just going to go to detox and I'm going to go home and I'm going to work a program and everything's going to be fine. Like, I had to get away from Connecticut, and I knew my buddy in college who I used to get really messed up with. He introduced me to the wonderful world of opiates. He was a year sober up here. Today I work with him in recovery. Like, it's amazing. But he told me about this place that he was up at, so I went there, right? And that safe place. I had that safe place to work on my recovery. I had a place where other men could come to me and tell me what I was doing and what it looked like. And like, if you want to do that, you can. This is what I did to get better. And like, I was exactly where you were at. And when they honestly told me that, I was like, you're lying to me. I cannot believe that you were anywhere near as bad as I was. And like 2 years later, I'm here. And I could say the same thing to other men.
And you never saw it coming.
No.
That's the best part.
No,
You never saw it coming.
I thought at this age I would either be dead or in prison.
I can't even believe how good my life's gotten in 2 years.
Yeah.
Way better than I would have ever predicted. And it's so amazing because you're like, where's it going to be next year?
Yeah.
Like, where is it going to be? Like 2 years ago, I was homeless. I was living in the streets. I didn't shower. I didn't eat. I literally slept in the streets. There was a abandoned house that I squatted in, but it was filled with mold, so you didn't want to be in it. And there was a kiddie pool outside. But like, little pools, when it rains and rains and rains, like they're so gross. So I would only just put my head in to wash it sometimes. Yeah. And so in 2 years, I went from that to where I'm at now. And I never, ever, ever thought that I never believed in myself enough to be here. Ever.
And it's not.
Today I know, like, that's a lie. I deserve this.
Sometimes, like, I still don't.
Yeah.
And it's just that, and I think this is what I see as serenity, is that serenity is not this, like, place of euphoria and that I'm free from the bondages and I have, like, pure flowing thoughts in my brain. Serenity is knowing that, like, the way my brain works, I've accepted that, and it's ebbs and flows, and it's gonna come and it's gonna go, and this is like total acceptance of. So this morning, and I'm getting more comfortable talking about. I've had an eating disorder for 15 years, and I put on 30 pounds, and I went to put on a pair of pants this morning, and they didn't fit. And then I realized I actually only have one pair of pants that fit, and all of the other pants I have to wear are yoga pants. So instantly I was like, well, you better start starving yourself. You better start punishing yourself. And like, you better go on a liquid diet. And then I'm like, no, this is just the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. And every time I'm uncomfortable in my own body, and I have to get comfortable being in a whole new body, because it is a whole new body.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have those thoughts, and serenity is knowing that those thoughts will go away, and that a higher power of my understanding will, cushion. It's going to get cushioned. It's going to get less and less painful, but it will never go away. And that's pure serenity, is acceptance of my brain is really just special.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I totally forgot to say it. Honestly, all the stuff that I have today is whatever, like, the fact that, like, I can live life and not hate every second of it.
Isn't
like,
that wild?
That's the biggest thing.
That's wild.
Like, the fact that, like, I can go through the day and, like, be genuinely happy and not have to just put on the face. Like, put on that fake smile of, like, everything's fine, everything's fine, don't look at me. The fact that like I could be genuinely happy, or if I'm upset, like I could be genuine with it, and like I don't feel ashamed of it.
And just, yeah, and it's just like you don't have to, like, it was the spiritual advisor. I feel like we can just say her name, Amy Cloutier.
She is part of the exit team, so
Yeah, so she,
Fair enough.
a couple
host
weeks,
of our Manchester show.
yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was just like, struggling with the brain stuff. And it was just, not feeling good about like my work ethic or whatever. And I have a really good work ethic, and I'm a Virgo, so if it's not perfect, I'm like, you better just die.
I'm a Virgo too.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right. So she said to me, she's like, you've, and it was so simple. She goes, you've suffered enough. And it just like blew my mind. And so for a whole week, that was my prayer, my mantra, and my meditation. You suffered enough. And then I was all of a sudden this weekend just like gifted women, strong, powerful women. And it was because I just shifted my thought that I am not, I'm not less worthy. And sometimes it's like, it sounds so simple to think that you're not less worthy, but to feel it and to like start acting that way. But when you do it, you're like, in a whole week, my life has shifted. In a whole week.
I was gonna say, it's so amazing. Like when you have that acceptance, or you can like another layer is like revealed, and you allow yourself to be there, right? It's really cool, and all of a sudden, like everything around you changes. But like another layer is gonna be removed,
Well,
and
I'm not ready
like
for it.
I call it like the aha moment.
It is an aha
Boy-
moment.
Boy, like I remember people would tell me, it's like I can't remember specifics, but they'd say this like one thing, or it's like it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go with the broad one, right? And like I'd be like, logically I can understand that, and then I would have this experience and it would just be like a click in my head, and then I'm like,
Actually, it's that simple.
yeah, and then like I'd tell people and they'd be like, yeah, I told you.
And like you think it's like this profound
Yeah.
thought. You think like you just discovered something.
Yeah, like
Everyone's
you just reached the next level of consciousness, and then
But you
just
did
like,
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did for you.
No, very true.
yeah.
But you think, because we're addicts, that we just discovered something, and we're
Yeah.
like, we better write a book about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We better
Tell
be on the show. We
everyone.
better
Like
be
I
on the
don't
show
know if you
right
guys
now.
know this, but I just discovered electricity.
That's what it feels like.
No,
Energy is
seriously.
real.
We could go into that in quantum physics, and like we could get
That would
real.
be fun.
Yeah.
Look it up. Double slit experiment.
I already did. I already knew about it.
Yes. All right.
The string theory.
Yeah.
Einstein was wrong.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I want to be part of Mensa.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be cool. I'm not ready.
Another fellowship.
I would like to be in the Illuminati, only because they don't accept women.
I don't think they're real.
It's funny that you say that.
Freemasons?
Because Sunday, so Nikki has her own radio show, just so everyone knows, and I was on her radio show on Sunday, and when we left, May started talking about that, and I had no idea what he was talking about because I don't know what it is.
So the radio station is in the same building as Masons.
Really?
Yes, but women cannot be Masons, and I have a huge resentment. Not that I don't even need to be like a second-degree Mason. I don't even care. Just like, don't tell me I can't be in it because I'm a woman.
I respect it.
Yeah, like that really upsets me.
I respect it. Like, oh, you told me I can't do this? Bad.
Yeah, so I'm going to start my own thing. Apparently there is a thing, and the Queen of England's part of it. It's called like the Stars, but no, I'm going to start my own thing.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
I support it.
Okay. So you're with conspiracies then?
Yeah.
All right. All right. As long as you don't think there's a hole in Antarctica that the lizard people come out of. Okay. We're just going to move on then.
It's none of my business, right? It's not my business.
Okay. So where do you see the future of Revive, of community centers,
Yeah.
recovery centers? What do you see that? Like, what do you envision? Because I know whatever I do, I try to think of like, okay, what can I do today to be better? And like, what's my end goal? Like, what am I working towards?
And I say this all the time, Yeah, no, I feel like a little bit selfish that we talked more about stuff other than Revive. But so
Well,
Revive.
we're definitely going to be back on because we only have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll do this really quickly.
Yeah.
Revive has always been bigger than me, and I've said that, like, sometimes I just feel like I show up to work and it built itself. Like, the Nashua community, I've never, because I live in Manchester, I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy. And they kind of just built it, and we've had so much help from the health department, from Harbor Homes, from the mayor. The mayor has been like a huge support for us, from, you know, Process and Rise Above, who are our board members. And we're growing really, really quickly. Sometimes it, like, I feel a little bit crazy.
There's such a need for it.
And there is such a need for it. So all these, you know, different community groups are kind of grasping onto it. So I'm trying to keep up as much as possible. But where it goes is not my business. It's not my destiny. It's, you know, it's Nashua's destiny. It's recovery's destiny. But there is, I can feel it. It's growing really quickly and rapidly and just so beautifully. So where it's going to go, I think that the state is making a lot of drastic changes, which we're going to see between now and January, and then from January for the next 2 years with all of the money coming in. So we're just going to do our best to, like, kind of like put our seatbelts on and ride the wave. But there's some crazy stuff happening in the recovery community specifically. And I think the country, or I'll just go back to the recovery community, is more recognizing that peer recovery support is a huge piece that's been missing, and it's going to be a bridge to a lot of gaps.
It's that
that we've been
therapeutic
missing.
value. You need that. You really do.
We need to get back to, like, basic core values that don't, you know, wrap around health insurance and doctors and diagnoses. It's like that human connection that we're building.
It really is. I feel like we could do a whole show on that. I literally sit up at night, like, reading books and watching videos on that because I'm just, it's what I was always missing.
Yeah.
You know, we're out of time.
Wow,
I don't even know
that
what
went
happens.
by really fast.
Did it really?
Yeah, we're out of time.
Oh, wow.
This was a great show.
Oh,
this was awesome.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, we'd love to
anytime.
have you back.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Everyone watching.
And then we could talk about the Queen of
at
England.
home, if you have any questions about Revive, or if you need any resources or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to Nikki.
888-317-8312.
Yeah, and what's the address to Revive?
263 Main Street, and nikki.casey@reviverecovery.org.
You can reach out whenever. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
watching. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you and we love you. My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery.
Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.